Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into historian Timothy Snider's powerful book on tyranny. It's a short book, but it packs a huge punch, and its message is frankly more urgent than ever. We're going to unpack its key lessons. Right from the start, the book hits you with this really powerful idea. Snider is basically telling us that we're not special. We're not somehow immune to the forces that have toppled democracies in the past. Our one and only advantage is that we can look back and learn from their experience. And that leads us to a pretty chilling core idea. Democracy isn't our default setting. It's fragile. It's a delicate system that you have to constantly work at. The belief that our institutions will just automatically save us, well, as history shows, that's a huge and often fatal mistake. So you can see this pattern pop up again and again. Snider points to three key moments in the 20th century where democracy seemed like it was winning, right after 1918, then 1945, and again in 1989. But each time, many of those new democracies just crumbled, falling to the exact same pressures, things like economic chaos and intense political division, that, let's be honest, feel pretty familiar today. Now, the point here isn't to make you feel hopeless, not at all. The goal is to arm us with knowledge. It reframes these historical tragedies not as some unavoidable destiny, but as a practical guide, a roadmap of what to watch out for and what to do when you see it coming. So how do we do that? How do we fight back? Well, Snider lays out this incredible framework, 20 lessons drawn straight from the history of the 20th century, looking at what worked and what didn't. Think of these lessons like a toolkit for every citizen. They're designed to help us spot those subtle, early signs of democratic decay and, crucially, give us the tools to push back. Let's dive into a few of the key themes that weave through these lessons. Okay, let's kick things off with what might be the most important theme of all, the power of your own personal resistance. And this all starts with understanding a really subtle but dangerous idea that Snider calls anticipatory obedience. And this is such a profound idea. Snider argues that authoritarians don't always have to take power. A lot of the time, it's just handed to them. It's when we start censoring ourselves online, or maybe we stop talking about certain things with our friends, not because anyone told us to, but because we're just trying to guess what the new bosses want. We're basically teaching them what they can get away with. And this isn't just some abstract concept. Psychological studies, like Stanley Milgram's famous experiment back in '61, it really showed a dark side to human nature. He found that regular, everyday people are shockingly willing to hurt others just because a guy in a lab coat with a clipboard told them it was okay. Milgram's own conclusion was absolutely chilling. You see, he originally wanted to figure out how something like the Holocaust could happen, but what he found was that this impulse to obey wasn't some unique historical thing. It was something that's just baked into us. But look, it's not enough to just resist on your own. Snider makes it clear that we have a collective job to do too. We have to defend our core institutions and, just as important, defend our shared belief in actual objective truth. And wow, this quote right here just perfectly illustrates that danger of false confidence. This is from a real editorial, published right after Hitler became chancellor. They truly believed the system, the courts, the Constitution, all of it, would protect them. And they were just so tragically wrong. Right, so here's the key takeaway. Institutions can't save themselves. They're just buildings, just rules on a page. They only have power because we, the people, actively choose to defend them. Without that, they're nothing. And a huge part of defending those institutions comes down to defending truth itself. I mean, think about it. If there are no facts, if there's no shared reality, how can you ever hold power accountable? If it's all just your truth versus my truth, then all that's left is power, spectacle, and force. And Snider actually breaks it down for us. He lays out this 4-step playbook for how would-be tyrants kill the truth. First, they just attack reality head-on. Then, they repeat slogans and lies over and over until you're just numb to them. Third, they start saying things that are obviously contradictory. And finally, they tell you that they, and only they, are the single source of what's true. Snider really doesn't mince words here. For him, there's a straight line from a society that gives up on facts to one that opens the door to authoritarianism. This isn't something new. It's like the oldest warning sign in the book. And that brings us to our final big theme, threat recognition. This is all about, keeping your ears open for dangerous language and spotting the playbook authoritarians have used over and over again to take power. One of the oldest tricks in the book is to create or exploit a crisis to justify grabbing more power. And the textbook example of this is the Reichstag fire in 1933, when the German parliament building mysteriously burned down. But what's absolutely wild here is the speed. Just look at this timeline. Honestly, it almost doesn't matter who really set the fire. Hitler immediately used the fear and the chaos. The very next day, basic rights were gone. Less than a month later, he had total power. Snider calls this the oldest trick in the Hitlerian book, using a disaster to tear down a democracy. So after all this, what's the big takeaway? You might think this all sounds terrifying, but the book's core message is actually one of empowerment, not fear. It's saying that history isn't something that just happens to us. It's shaped by the thousands of small choices that people like you and me make every single day. The defense of freedom starts with you. And really, that's the final challenging question that Snider leaves us with. History has given us the instruction manual. It's laid out all the lessons. The only question left is, are we listening? And are we ready to act?